Sheriff Timothy Whitcomb is with the Cattaraugus County Sheriff's Office in New York. He has more than 30 years of experience in law enforcement with specialized training in crisis negotiation and death scene management. Sheriff Whitcomb also has a master's degree in counseling education, and he's here to tell us more about the effects of trauma on police officers and the critical need to heal PTSD. Please welcome Sheriff Whitcomb.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today about a subject matter I've become very passionate about. In 1991, I transferred from a police department to the Cattaraugus County Sheriff's Office. When I did, I was introduced to a colleague who ended up becoming a very dear friend of mine named Dennis John. 5 years after I transferred, I had the opportunity to promote to detective, and when I did, Dennis became my first-line supervisor. For the next 13 years, as I promoted 4 times, so did he. Each time, he maintained the role of my first-line supervisor. Dennis not only was a great colleague of mine and supervisor, but became one of my best friends. On August 18, 2009, 9:03 a.m., my friend sent me a text message that he was about to kill himself and told me where he was. And he followed through. His death was a tremendous learning curve for me, and it became a wake-up call for me. Because at that time in my career, I had already secured my master's degree in counseling education from St. Bonaventure University, and I thought I had a pretty good understanding of all of the disorders in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders produced by the American Psychiatric Association, otherwise known as the DSM-5. His death proved to me a direct linkage of the devastating effects that post-traumatic stress disorder was specifically having on the subculture of police work, the very job that I had chosen to put bread on the table for my family. The reality of it is this. In the United States alone, there is a 7.8% incident rate of PTSD in our citizens, simply because they exist here in the United States. Soldiers coming back from Iraq or Afghanistan right now, depending on where you get your statistics from, their incident rate for PTSD ranges between 20% at the low end, 50% at the high end, the truth perhaps being somewhere in the middle. The minimum exposure rate for PTSD for law enforcement is estimated to be at 24%. That means tonight, when somebody picks up the phone and dials 911 in the United States, they have a 1 in 4 chance that the officer showing up to help them at their family's darkest hour, that officer, they themselves, is quietly suffering from a diagnosable disorder in the DSM-5. We need to remind ourselves that police agencies are modeled after the military. We are structured in a paramilitary fashion with a chain of command. Unless you're at the top of the food chain, you answer to a first and second line supervisor, just like the military. And that's not the only thing that we share in common. We also have an early retirement incentive. Some of us have a 20-year program, some of us have a 25-year program, some of us have an accelerated 401k match to prepare us for an early exit, just like the military has a 20-year retirement. This is strategically done purposefully because many of us are not expected to do this job for 3 and 4 decades, because this job, it's not like jobs in medicine. It's not like jobs in education. Those professions don't have those retirement incentives. The reason we have them is because of the exposure to trauma. You see, we get to see, smell, hear, feel, touch, and taste events 2 or 3 times a month that most people will taste twice in their life. It is this cumulative exposure to trauma which can set us up in the first responding community for PTSD. You see, post-traumatic stress disorder is an injury. Now, the good news about that is we have a great understanding of how to deal with physical injury. But we don't have a great understanding in the subculture of law enforcement of how to deal with emotional and psychological injury. And that's what PTSD is. It's naked to the human eye, but it's identifiable by a counselor. And in fact, historically in law enforcement, we have encouraged officers to keep their mouth shut if they experience an emotional or psychological injury. We infer them to put duct tape on it and to soldier forward. Well, just like a physical injury, any injury undiagnosed or gone neglected, it gets worse over time. And you can look at the screen with me, and I'll recite a handful of them to you. Depression, high blood pressure, shorter life expectancy, divorce, sleep disorders, eating disorders, prescription drug abuse, alcoholism. We could continue. The truth of the matter is, it should be no surprise to any of us that an injury gone undetected, undiagnosed, unattended to, that creates these negative side effects in somebody's quality of life ultimately has a direct result in one's life longevity. The average life expectancy of a male in today's society is 76 years and 4 months. Women in the United States live approximately 5 years longer, 81 years and change. The average age of death for a police officer in the United States, regardless of gender, is between 56 and 59 years old. Think of the irony in that. Because when we go to the academy, you do thousands of push-ups, thousands of sit-ups. You have to run 1.5 miles, slightly slower than a white-tailed deer. You have to prove that you're in the elite 20% of our population, physically, emotionally, and psychologically, to have the privilege to adorn this badge, to protect and serve the other 80% that you are more fit than. Also, they will outlive you by an average of 22 to 26 years. I would suggest to you it doesn't have to be that way. We need to confront the elephant in the room. If you choose to protect and serve, you have to have your feet firmly planted in the philosophy that the people that you will protect and serve most fiercely are the people that you love, the people that love you. It has to be your mission statement, and you need to put yourself in that pack. Self-care. If you get that backwards in this job will chew you up. If you enter this job the very minute you put stripes on your sleeve or brass on your collar, part of your responsibility has also now changed. It is now your responsibility to protect and serve those people that have chosen to protect and serve, and the higher up the food chain you go, the greater your responsibility. Administrations need to offer to their staff a variety of tools because some tools will work better for others. We need strong peer support programs. We need strong EAP programs. We need strong accredited training for agencies because knowledge is power. And we need to prepare our officers for the expected exposure to trauma and its consequences. Because the question is not, will you dance with post-traumatic stress disorder if you're a police officer in the U.S.? The question is, how many times will you hear the music? But if they are educated and trained, they will have a greater opportunity to move with the music. And we owe it to them to prepare them. One of the tools that I have currently become very excited about is moving forward using technology, and it's called Talk to Me Post-Tour. I recently have become involved with Talk to Me Post-Tour as the National Director of Law Enforcement Operations. Talk to Me Post-Tour is an online peer support program. It is not therapy. It is not counseling. You get a credentialed, randomized number that protects your identity when you enter the system. At no time can you be located. It is completely anonymous. When you enter the system, you will see live the face of a peer. That peer is specially trained to help check your engine, for lack of a better terms. If you need more forensic attention than that, they are also in the position to provide you with resources that you may need. But at no time does your administration know that you've reached out, so you are free from any consequences of reaching out. Let me show you an example of a sample session in Talk to Me Post-Tour.
Now that we've gone over some of the guidelines, I'm glad that you're all here. Is there anybody on that wants to speak? Hi, I guess I'll just start. I just got home from probably one of the longest days of my life. I didn't even plan on calling in. I've been sitting here, though, and realized I need to talk to get stuff off my chest.
Okay. All right, well, we're here.
I had a call today. It came in as a child not breathing. What I didn't know was that it wasn't just a child. It was a 2-year-old. She had snuck into the upstairs bedroom and was playing with her toys in the tub. The mom found her. I saw her little body.
So you didn't even realize until you got home just how much it affected you?
Yeah.
Anybody else that wants to share anything?
Yeah, I'd like to. I just wanted to say, too, that I had to deal with this once, the same that she did. I remember going home that night and not being able to tell my wife about it, though, since we have kids. So I just didn't talk about it.
I'm sorry that you felt like you couldn't speak about it. In the future, if you want, you could always jump on here and talk to us about it.
Thanks, brother. I came on today just to vent a little bit. Really, it's about almost nothing. Just some stuff with my supervisor, because it's almost like he wants me to quit.
Thanks for sharing. I noticed that someone did click on the hand icon. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, hang in there, brother. That's what we're here for. We're here for each other. Stay strong.
Great. Thanks. I agree with you. Is there anything else that you want to talk about for you?
No, thanks. I just came on to check you guys out. Thanks.
Is there anybody else that wants to add anything else?
Yeah, it's me again. I want to say that I think it's bullshit. No matter what I do, I get screwed over. I've got 17 years on now, and nobody seems to give a crap. I've been through a lot. Not that long ago, on a traffic stop, a guy pulls a gun on me. He had stuck it right out the window, and it jammed. And I don't know why, but it jammed. Now, every time I close my eyes, all I can see is that muzzle, like the size of a hula hoop, and I can't sleep anymore. Every time I drive next to somebody, I get jumpy.
Wow. It sounds completely overwhelming. By the way, I did just send you a private chat message if you want to take a look at it. If you want to keep speaking, maybe you can tell us about how it's affecting your work or how it's affecting your life.
I'd like to bring your attention to the right side of the screen in the session that you just saw. When it became abundantly clear to the peer that the person that he was speaking to needed some more forensic attention that was above the pay grade of a peer debriefing, that person was sent a private chat text. No one else in the session can see that. It's a fantastic program as we look to the future for administrations to consider. Administrations need to focus on a variety of tools to protect all of the members in their agency. Some programs will work for some officers better than others, so you need a variety set of tools. Knowledge is power when it comes to post-traumatic stress disorder. It is impossible to navigate through this career without being exposed to trauma, without being exposed cumulatively to trauma. The question is not if an officer will have the opportunity to dance with PTSD in their career. The question is, how many times will you hear the music? If you're an administrator in an agency, this is your opportunity to empower your officers with the knowledge that post-traumatic stress disorder is a diagnosable disorder in the DSM-5. It is generated by exposure either catastrophically or cumulatively, and it is 100% manageable. The faster you identify it, the easier it is to help us manage. If you give them the education, the greater their chance to move with the music. In closing, I'd like to encourage any of you who are trained peers that see this video, you're interested in working for Talk to Me Post-Tour and helping our brothers and sisters as they dial in, please go to our website and reach out to us. We are anxious to hear from you. Thank you for your time today.